deciding to sign up with me.
Yeah, no problem, man. I'm all for it.
All right, let's see. We're live now. Let me go blast it in the usual places. This is always the fun part of scrambling to like get things working properly. All right, cool. We're live. Let me share it out. Send it to the Discord. There we go. All right. And then hopefully, yeah, I am excited to see the live chat because the live chat is the missing part of Spaces. I feel like Spaces would be so much better if there was a live chat. Look, we've already got 38 people in here, which is great. Thanks again, Emlo, for joining me. We're gonna try something different today and do the live stream, so you get to see our beautiful faces while we talk about Ethos. It's always more personable, but also it gives a little bit of a better chance to make it more engaging and interactive. So feel free to add comments. I'm gonna actually show the comments on the stream, which should be nice. It should look a little bit better if it works.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you, like, where are you seeing the comments?
They're in StreamYard.
Okay.
Let's just see really
Oh,
quickly.
okay.
That's not what I wanted to do. I don't know if
Okay.
they're coming through into the thing.
Yeah, I see it now. Okay.
But yeah, so the comments are always nice to be able to interact with. If you want to come up here, if you're a normal person who would normally come up on the space, just like DM me on Twitter and I will send you a StreamYard invite so that we can get you up here. Because I still want it to be engaging. Like there's this weird balance between like spaces and their ability to just pull anyone up and pull them into the conversation, and then the lack of ability to do that whenever you're streaming. So yeah, Emily, it does sound like you have a little bit of background noise, very, very subtle. But if you want to go on mute when you're not talking, I think that'd probably be great for everyone. All right, let's see. Start looking good. Yeah, forget these r4rs. Thanks, guys. Normal person here who's not weird on spaces. I like it. Why not just do a space? I just explained that I wanted to do it a little bit different this time. I usually do spaces on Thursdays. Obviously, I mean, we already have a better turnout here. I feel like that just people turn out more on the video ones. So we're going to try it. If you want to come up here, feel free to. It just makes it a little bit more engaging and interactive, which I feel like when I'm doing the streaming is always more fun to have people like, yeah, you want to see your messages in big letters? There you go, Mira. It's just, yeah, it's better than spaces, just like everyone's saying. Yeah, see, look, you only joined because I saw video. Exactly. So okay, so we're gonna roll with this then. I feel like it's a good thing. If you want to come up here again, let me know. Send me a DM on Twitter, and I will send you the invite to the StreamYard, and you can come join us. But usually, what we do on Thursdays and what we talk about is just kind of what's going on in Ethos and things that are live. I don't know about you, Emily, but it does feel like the space is a little quieter this week, and people are a little more focused on Pump Fun and the launch this weekend. You know, there's some interesting stuff to talk there, but what is your overall vibe of just the market this week and how people are like? Does it feel dead to you this week generally?
Yeah, this definitely feels like a summer week, right? Yeah, not a lot going on. Even on Ethos, I think Ethos it's a good. It reflects pretty good what's going on lately in CT, right? There's not even like, I think there's only like one active slash, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, like the biggest thing this week was Pump Fun and some of the bonk stuff, right? But apart from that, nothing.
It's
nothing
super
really,
quiet.
Yeah, nothing really crazy happening, which sometimes is good, right? It's good to have those type of weeks.
From a trading perspective, this is what I expected going into the summer, but it just took a little longer for summer to really get here. And yeah, I mean, you can even see it in like, yeah, someone says, do you know why the number of slashes has decreased? And we've got one active slash right here. It's the one against UMA from Hack Research, which I thought was cool that Hack Research, they put their name on it. It's not just the person that works there. It's them actually putting their entire name on the slash. But I mean, yeah, the number of slashes has definitely come down a little bit. And I think it's just kind of representative like I feel like slashes eventually are starting to get more towards this like real time as opposed to like historical stuff. And when there's less stuff going on in real time, you get less slashes too.
Yeah, 100%. I think obviously when the protocol launched, I think it was good to get all that retroactive data, right? And like we saw that with the first few slashes, it was people slashing, behaviors of the past, right, and bad actors, which is great because as a protocol, you don't want everything to be current, right? Like if somebody comes in new and looks at the protocol and doesn't see like bad actors from 2-3 years ago, then they're gonna say like, hey, these people could come in at any point, and your protocol is not doing a good job at warning people, right? So, but yeah, but I think we're at a point that Ethos data is definitely maturing and more current, which is great to see, right? Because I'm pretty sure from your perspective, at the beginning, I think the toughest task for the team was to get people to actually participate and gather all that data.
Yeah, it's an interesting one of like whenever we have here, I'm gonna invite someone up here who DM'd me. Whenever we have this like, it's really easy when it's in real time. It's a lot harder whenever it's like you've got to look back and think of all the things that happened. Like I wrote this one yesterday for Cointelegraph. It's not a slash. It was just like a review. And I think a lot of people forgot about like, hey, by the way, like Cointelegraph had this like big misstep once where like they tweeted out that the ETF had gone live and it hadn't. And so like looking back retrospectively, it can be kind of difficult. Ethos went through a period where there are a lot of people doing a bunch of like historical stuff, and then you look up and it's like all current event stuff. And so I think we're starting to get more into a balance of like, yeah, like Christian in here says like SBF / incoming, and you're like, yeah, like no one wants to slash FBF now. It's not really that helpful to have that information anymore. He's already poorly represented.
Yeah, I remember the beginning when slashes launched, like there's like 3 slashes of the same person going on at the same time and stuff. So
yeah,
definitely we've come a long way.
All right. Well, I brought VGF up here too. VGF, welcome aboard. Hopefully, can you see all 3 of us at once now? That's cool.
Not StreamYard for the win.
Yeah.
I feel like I need to get a hat. Let me see if I can find
the hat club. This is now. I'm now going to sell you guys on a monthly hat subscription where instead of Ethos, I just send you hats every month, and it's $20.
I would be a subscriber.
I thought that was the utility of validators. Is it not?
Pretty much since COVID, I've been capitulating.
It's the easiest way to style your hair as a man. You just put a hat on, and when you're remote, like I mean, most of us that had real jobs outside of Web3, whatever a real job is, you're like you want to show up. You want to have some like character and identity. So you get to wear a hat. You wear a different hat. It's like wearing a nice shirt on a Friday.
There's only so many ways a man can accessorize, but
yeah, exactly. Yeah,
it's funny because like I forget what it was like NYC maybe 2 years ago. I didn't really feel the implication of this until I was recognized from behind because of my hat.
There you go. I like it. Yeah, I mean, it works that way. Otherwise, you would just look like a generic guy with hair, right? Like, hat is so much more characteristic. No, VGF, good to have you up. Thanks for joining. I'm glad that you're interested. How have you been enjoying? Like, what are your thoughts this week? I know you always stay really active and engaged in the community, regardless of if there are things going on outside of Ethos, obviously just in Web3. Like, how do you feel like summer has been so far?
I feel like you were kind of spot on. It's felt a little understated given where the market is right now. Like we just hit new all-time high. Granted, it wasn't a blow off astronomical break from previous all-time high, but we're basis points off all-time high where we have like alts surging particularly well across the board, but it doesn't feel like that's really been reflected in sentiment,
right?
And so like it still feels like we're kind of trudging and kind of like beating up towards like grinding up against that sentiment level. But I'm really curious what the next catalyst will be engagement wise. Like I mean, Pump, Fund, the token has been, the talk of the town. But I don't know that that's really a sustainable narrative. It feels like it's the hype of the moment type thing for somebody that's in it for, a long-term trade or something like that. I think it has some promise, but otherwise I think it's, just another, the topic of the day when there's nothing else to talk about. But I really liked what you touched on kind of the delta neutral reviews on Ethos that have been seemingly ticking up a little bit. Where like I've seen more and more shout out on the whatchamacallit? Why am I blanking? Contributing.
Yeah. Right.
Those that like pop up in my contributor
dailies. Daily tasks.
I'm not sure how to phrase that, but I've seen more and more where it's like, they may have had, some missteps here or said the wrong thing here, but like, I like them as a person.
Right.
Or, I have left
more
a little
nuance.
more. A little more nuance, not just the, review for review, positive, great guy, love everything they've ever done.
Right.
It's like anyone that's been in this space for long enough, messing around with, some of the edgier things, probably hasn't played everything perfect every time. And I like when that's acknowledged. It feels more credible and responsible rather than just like carte blanche vouch for everything they've ever touched.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I mean, that's the kind of like nuance that we like to see as the team, right? Is you go look at how people are talking about things and you get a lot of AI slop. If I just go like sort by new here, you get a lot of AI slop here. Soul Builder and Genius Guy. Maybe it's not AI slop. Maybe this is authentic, right? But it really makes me happy when I see the authentic stuff in there, whether it be completely positive, a very nuanced, opinionated take, something that is very like, this feels more natural to me. Like, I don't think AI would put 100,000%. So like, it's nice to see these things. And yeah, it makes me really happy when you go look at someone's profile and you see more of that stuff as opposed to more of the like, there was definitely a period and there still is a period where we get a lot of sloppiness out there.
Yeah, it's gotten a lot better because I would say a few months back, if you went through what you're going through now, you would see a lot of like good person. I trust them. Like very like didn't give a lot of value.
Three words. Yeah.
OG. Yeah. I mean, like, even if we look at like Thread Guy here, I was just noticing like this is a pretty good review. Like this doesn't look like slop to me. This person's talking about an authentic thing. Met him at Paris at NFT Paris. He's really nice and down to earth. A real cutie. There you go. Like that's the kind of stuff that you want to see versus the like, what is this? Like Thread Guy's on-chain Trustpilot core data shows he received high positive rating of 91%. I feel like literally just spouting off Ethos data onto Ethos itself. And you're like, what the hell, man? And so, yeah, anyways, it's been fun to see. I feel like we've transitioned back towards it. There was definitely a period where it was like a lot of people just throwing whatever out there. And you could see, what is this guy doing? Like everything that he has done is just looking at existing. I'm going to put this in the investigations channel. The other thing though, that's kind of tricky, that's hard to like wrap your brain around with Ethos sometimes is when you're looking at something like this, you can easily be like, oh, that's dumb. Like this guy's just like writing crappy reviews. Like that's not helpful to anyone. But like your brain doesn't consider the idea that like people are weighted in this network graph. Like the whole concept is that, this guy might have written like a sloppy message here. He doesn't have any impact. And he borderline is about to not appear on anyone's profile when he writes reviews. And we might actually increase that threshold even to where like you don't see anyone below 1400 kind of thing one day. So I think that's the thing that's hard to get.
I got to step my game up.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah, I always try to tell people like filter by Ethos score, right? And then if like you're scrolling for like a minute or something and you see like some AI, then that's kind of like what we need to like fix, right?
Yeah, that's where it gets me nervous is when I scroll around and I'm like, oh, like, I mean, like, you know, this might be a short review, but I know it's from Beckett, who is a real person. And
and it was 5 months ago, back to what we were talking about, right?
Yeah.
So.
Well, and that's probably some of the difficulty that like from the outside looking in is maybe lost in translation a little bit, is like the nuance between casual and low effort versus just a bot response or something like that.
Yep.
Because like I saw one the other day where they left a review that was like neutral on somebody they didn't know.
Right. Yeah.
And it literally said that, like, I don't know this person. That's all I know about them.
Yeah.
And it was like, well, then why
people that get it in their
review?
dailies? Yeah. People in the daily tasks feel like they have to review. And I guess I don't understand sometimes how people position Ethos in their head. They're like, it turns into purely like a farming thing versus like, oh, I'm providing a unique opinion and perspective about this thing. Like you would never just go leave a 3-star review on like an Amazon product you never bought, but like people do that anyways.
That's a good metaphor.
Okay, hold on. I have some good chats to catch up with. I keep getting Chinese language reviews. Could you see if they give a language option? There is an option. I hear this feedback a lot, and we've been trying to figure out the right way to make it more obvious. There is one setting that you can click when looking at reviews here. So like, see this one, it's actually translated. This is Vietnamese. If you go up here and click auto translate, then all of your future reviews will be translated to English for you. We actually
did not know that.
You didn't know that either.
I'm doing that right interesting.
Now. Okay, yeah. There's I mean, I always thought that this button was pretty obvious of like, oh yeah, it's like the classic like change the language. We're gonna make it soon where actually they translate it to whatever language you want without you even knowing that it was written in another language. But yeah, if you didn't know that, there you go. There's a quick life hack. This is one of the benefits of streaming is I can actually show people how to use the product a little bit.
Well, yeah, like even some indicate like because I think Emma brought it up before of like or when you pulled up that other review where it seemed authentic, but like maybe the translation was off or like the language didn't quite seem native. Some kind of like indicator that says like this has been translated from a different language.
Yeah,
but I would be more inclined to trust something like that, even if like the grammar or something was a little bit off, if I knew it was translated.
I will give everyone the heads up of like, here is exactly why you shouldn't trust it sometimes. Is I don't know, like this is in Chinese, and when you translate it, it absolutely goes down the wrong path of like not what this person meant in any way, in fact, horrible. And so, yeah, we got to be very careful about the way that translation works. And honestly, it's just LLM translation. So the LLM, when you go from high context language like Chinese back to English, like in Chinese, they might use specific types of words to describe something. Like we might use sarcasm a lot in English, and it just does not translate at all. And so you have to be really, really careful about translation. And it will often, like sometimes to your point, you need to check that if it were translated or not. Even I had a problem with like people in Chinese were using the word blogger to describe someone who just like tweets about stuff. And I would be like, why are they reviewing this person as a blogger? Like they're not a blogger. No, who is a blogger? And then you're like, oh, I see. Like it's just high context language translation issues. So you got to be careful with it.
Yeah, for sure. By the way, I'm friends with Cyrus, and I think that review was not too far off.
We can let him know. Yeah, I have no idea. It does fall off the rails sometimes, so you got to be careful. I mean, it's interesting because Grok is also starting to translate with its LLM too. I noticed, but we haven't seen a lot of innovation in translation in a long time in in just building software in general.
Did you guys see the new benchmark for Grok 4?
I did not. No.
Just as of like this morning or yesterday, just crushing everything.
Really?
Yeah. Like it was trending on Twitter for a minute, but like, yeah, the new benchmarks for Grok 4 are just going crazy.
And they just launched. Interesting. They just launched a new subscription for it. Huh. Well, I wonder if it's available in OpenRouter or not. OpenRouter. We've been using OpenRouter for our vibe coding sessions. Let's see. Yeah, it's already got it. Grok 4. There you go. Dang, looks expensive. Yeah, we use it. We use OpenRouter for the LLM stuff. Basically all the LLM stuff in Ethos. So we actually can switch models very easily. If you're a dev and you're interested, you should go check out OpenRouter as an easy way. Because then, yeah, you're like you talk about Grok 4 being available today. The space is changing so fast that like every 2 weeks we get something new and interesting to go try. You definitely need tooling that allows you to like switch things up for it. But yeah, there you go. People are using the hell out of it already. Okay, cool. That's good to know. Let me see. Let me catch up some of the chat here. Emlo seems Turks. You're Turkish now, Emlo. That's crazy. I don't think you're Turkish.
I mean, I could be many things, right?
I like your vibe. I could go with your vibe is Turkish, maybe. Have you been to Turkey before, Emlo?
I think maybe what they're trying to say is that I need to go to Turkey to get hairline, fix my hairline.
Yeah. That is common. Yeah, you'll end up in a TikTok or something. Johannes says, I am insta skipping everything that isn't in English. Well, you should go try the auto translate function. That is good feedback for us of like, it's not obvious to people. And now people are skipping stuff because of it. And like, they don't need to be because we translate stuff. So good to know as the product team.
Yeah, it's about just learning. Somebody in the Discord actually like somehow ran into like a review that I left, like I guess at the beginning days that was on the platform, and I had said something like, "Oh, I don't know this person, but like their score, it's not looking good, right?"
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't remember doing that review at all. And then it goes back in the day, I didn't know you could like skip.
Right.
Like doing reviews and stuff like that. So
it's tough. Yeah. It's always tough. Like when you come to designing products and user experiences, you want to opt for not over telling the user. You want to like direct the user as opposed to like be overt and like do this, not that. And so like we haven't quite figured out the way. Like usually it's with time that people kind of pick up on stuff like that. The translate thing should be easy though. I just don't think people see it. Like you definitely wouldn't see it here unless you were really paying attention. But then again, it's like once you turn it on, it's on forever, and then you never have to think about it. So people that already have it on, they don't even think about it.
Well, so like for me, most of my like instances where I interact directly with it is when it pops up in my contributions.
Right.
And so like not having it on by default and seeing it there, it's like, okay, what do I do about it?
Right.
Versus like if you have it on, then it's no longer an issue.
Yeah, we're just, I think what we'll do is we'll actually just make it part of like your profile settings, and it's like it defaults to English. You can go change your language to whatever, and then you never even have to think about it again. That's what we've been wanting to do. I know we've been looking for a reason to go do it, so maybe now is our reason. But yeah, it does show up in the dailies. I don't think I'm not logged in here. It should show up in the dailies, but sometimes it doesn't. I have noticed. Like sometimes it will think that things that have emoji in them need to be translated from English to like emoji to English or something. So sometimes you'll see translations that are a little weird too, to be clear.
Well, so something that was up on top there. I forget who had made a post about this the other day, talking kind of about like consensus and like how you start seeing some of these like negative reinforcement trends. It's like the reverse review for review of like people going with the consensus of like review bombing someone, where someone that otherwise has an okay net reputation, that all of a sudden the consensus is to negatively review them.
Yep.
And that becomes like the in way of getting like that engagement, or even if it's not slashing, I think is a little more substantial.
Slashing kind of creates the snowball effect though, I've noticed. So like in the example you just gave, let's pull up like where's the guy from the Eclipse Foundation community or whatever? He got a bunch of them. He got slashed, but then he also got a bunch of negative reviews at the same time. And yeah, it kind of, I mean, it's a tough one. You're like, that is human nature, right? You get burned by something. Like, I don't know exactly what happened, to be super clear. I don't have good insight into Eclipse. I've never spent time with it. I don't know who Alucard is. I don't have an opinion. That's why I don't have a review and why I didn't vote in the slash or anything like that. But like, it is going to be hard to like it is going to be human nature whenever people feel like they got burned to go negatively review someone, right? And to be honest, like Alucard is on Ethos and he had a bunch of positive reviews before, and yeah, his score isn't terrible. It took a hit on the slash, but like when you come up here and you kind of get this quick glance of sentiment, and you're like, oh, okay, like, you know, exemplary people don't like him. You know, on average, you're seeing red up here. Like the goal is more just getting that kind of qualitative insight too sometimes. So anyways, I don't know where I was going with that other than like I witnessed a little bit of a snowball on this account, but I can't say that I know that it was incorrectly reflecting community sentiment.
Yeah, no, it was more so just an observation. I think some of that's, like you said, just human nature of like, I may not be the first person on the timeline to go review bomb or slash someone, but if I see someone like that negatively reviewed them, and it prompts that idea in my mind of like, oh, I was burned on that too.
Right. You know what's funny is like this is literally how Twitter works, right? Like it becomes its own echo chamber. People talk about it, then other people talk about it, and then that becomes trending. So then people talk about it more. And you're like, but the difference is on Twitter, there's no like, I'm going to go negatively impact your sentiment. There's no like, and so then you get stuff that shows up here, right? Like pump.fun is trending now. It has a bunch of negative reviews and it's kind of snowballing over the past, couple days. So yeah.
Which is interesting because if this would have been, whatever, a year or two ago, it would have been the top profile on the platform.
Right. Yeah. And I think that to me is the most interesting part of Ethos will be observing how that sentiment shifts. We haven't had enough time to measure sentiment of projects over time. I guess like Humanity Protocol might be a good one where like people were pretty bullish. People that farmed it were not very happy with that, and the sentiment kind of turned against them. But yeah, Pump Fun has kind of just been down only. And to be honest, like I haven't written a negative review for Pump Fun because I don't know that I'm necessarily negative about Pump Fun. And that can also say a lot when people don't have an opinion about things. So I don't know. I don't know what to think. I think I saw someone post the other day like, this is why it wasn't quite, this is why Ethos is broken, but it was like, this is why reputation doesn't matter in this space. And it was basically arguing that like, Pump Fun score on Ethos is questionable. It has only 25% positive reviews of 162, like, and they're about to raise, $600 million. Like, why are those two things completely different?
Because this place has a memory of a goldfish, and if nobody cares about your moral ambiguity, if you can potentially make money off of it.
Yeah, but
I
think that's just not an issue in CT, right? I think that's just a world issue, right? There's plenty of people with questionable or bad reputations that still make, tons of millions of dollars and do all these crazy deals, and it's because they're either influential or they have a lot of power, right? So I think the value of Ethos is putting all that information into one place that you as a team, as a person, and whoever you are, you could actually make an educated decision as to if you want to do something with that person or not.
Right. Yeah, I think it's hard because we have created this very quantifiable score, and that really helps people at a glance go, yeah, okay, I see. I mean, I would argue that this is a good reflection of consumer sentiment of Pump Fund right now. It's not untrusted. It's questionable. People are kind of like, I don't know, man. It doesn't. The score is not meant to reflect. Here's what the price will be. It's not meant to say. Go ahead.
And well, I think there's also like, there's not yet been enough time to, or like enough overlap of like the broader like, why do some people that have low sentiment score or low ethos score have these cults of personality that may not have yet interacted with ethos?
Mm-hmm. Right.
You know, like there are certain people that stand out like as some of the top, you know, or bottom, depending on the way you look at it, reviewed profiles on Ethos. But if you were to go on CT, they still have, you know, immensely high engagement, ridiculous, you know, like anything they touch is going to pop off. You know, they can pump coins, you know, at will type deal. And why does that happen? Of like, you know, they have really, really low ethos score, are, you know, almost unarguably questionable actors in certain regards, but still have, you know, that position of power and are able to move markets or whatever in certain ways.
Yeah, it is interesting. And like, yes, some of the chat is kind of talking about this too. Like Johannes says, there's a huge difference between Ethos users price something and VCs price something. That's definitely true, right? I think one of the missing links in the Pump Fund narrative is, as a VC, if you look back in the last 2 years, you missed the two biggest apps as a VC, no matter what, unless you're Alliance DAO. Like you missed Hyperliquid and you missed Pump Fund. Like no VC got, I mean, I'm sure there were rounds that they got into later, but like for the most part, most people missed this. And VCs are looking at like, wow, this is a crazy business model. They've made an incredible amount of money. Like Pump Fund is arguably the most successful startup in terms of ability to generate revenue in their first year. Like, yeah, like that
Maybe
is
in crypto ever.
Yeah, in crypto ever. Yeah. Yeah, like I know Pump did 4 rounds and VCs did get into it, but I you know, they never made any of that information public either. I have seen stuff about Pump Fund's fundraise, but they have not ever shared beyond their like pre-seed round any information about it. So even as a VC, you're like, you don't even have the ability to stake a claim that you invested in it. And all I'm really trying to say is like, a lot of VCs missed out on that and want to participate because it is such a successful startup.
Revenue generating business in crypto?
Yeah,
blasphemy.
Yeah, it has a lot of people, like a lot of my groups. There's a lot of people are seriously thinking of, you know, putting big money into this because they think they could get, you know, anywhere from, you know, 20 to 50% upside. So
but that's what's funny in crypto is like, oh, it's not 100x, you know, from here. It's not 100x from 4 billion. Like, why am I even putting my money there? But then like I have other friends that like from 21 started with nothing, are now playing a very different game and are talking about like full porting this at $4 billion because they think they have like a guaranteed 1.5 or 2x out of it.
Yeah, same reason, same exact thinking with Hyperliquid, right? Some people have missed it, but they've like seen now that like, yeah, I might have missed whatever 5x, 10x, but with significant money, I think I could still get a 2x out of it. So, and that's, and like you said, when people get to a certain level, that's what they're looking for, right? It's to not get wrecked and actually like, you know, scale with some type of, in a sense, some type of security.
Well, it's interesting. Like from my, like I've yet to play those games, but like I'm not yet at that level. But I chat with people quite often that, you know, have evolved in their journey to playing that different type of game, and looking at like the risk reward of something like Pump Fund. Where my one buddy is talking about putting like hundreds of thousands of dollars into this on a whim, But like, I hear that and I'm like, where is this coming from? And he's like, okay, well, I think at most I might, cut my portfolio in half if it absolutely nukes, which he doesn't think it's going to. But on the upside, I'm going to 2 to 3x.
Right.
And, and that's on whatever size you could possibly want.
Yeah.
That's a risk reward that, a savvy investor is willing to make.
This isn't a well, not that I don't enjoy the conversation. This isn't a trading show, but I will add my own trading perspective because I do run a hedge fund at the end of the day. We can't participate in the pump fund sale because we are a US based institution, and therefore, like, especially when you're doing it on behalf of a company, you have to follow the rules. But I do have interest in pump fund in an open market. I think that there have been very few things that you can confidently say, I want to approach this thing with size. The other one that we did really well on, that we approached with size, was hyperliquid. Yeah.
You very publicly did that one on the timeline.
Yeah. And I've sold half of my hype or more than half. And so like, I feel really good. Like, I really like hyperliquid. But also, like, I was aggressively buying hyperliquid from $4 to $16. And like, there was like a period of time for 2 weeks where I was just throwing crazy money at hyperliquid. And you're like, yeah, it's going to keep going. But like, I am at the point where I'm like, all right, I take the risk baton and hand it off to someone else with hyperliquid. That the next 2x is interesting, but I'd rather, find something else to deploy it to. So I would say that I look at these things similarly from whenever there is not a public trading market, people looked at hyperliquid and said, why would it trade at that high of a valuation? And now you don't hear that anymore. I think the last thing that I'll say from a trading perspective is everyone, and you should think about this with Ethos too. Everyone looks at something like pump.fun and they go, okay, here is what it is today. Here's what they have done today. And they never think about, here's what they could do. Here's what they could build on top of. They have the ability to capture attention. What else could you do on top of that? And do I believe in live streaming as like the future vision that they're going to take on Twitch and stuff like that? Like, I don't know, but
it's a bold swing.
It's a bold swing, but like, sometimes we're just trading narratives at the end of the day too.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and okay, so there's a good point here that we're really going off the rails of Ethos. But I thought this was interesting. The HL pre-market is interesting. I don't know what it was at this morning. The hyperliquid, they're called. It's not hyper. It's like hyperps or something they call it. Yeah. You have to be really, 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 really careful with pre-market trading on these because you have to understand how they work. There's no ground truth. There's no
oracle.
There's no oracle. The oracle is people trading against it, basically. It's on a moving average. And so the only thing I would caution people with from, again, this is not a trading show, but a trader's perspective, do not think I will short this at 6 billion as a hedge against buying it at 4 billion on the open market. That is a blasphemous, like, stupid take because $6 billion means nothing on hyperliquid right now. It just means that's what people are kind of roughly trading against each other with.
It's basically
so be careful.
At 5 to answer your previous
Okay, there you go. Yeah, I would be very careful with how much credit I would put into that number. Because the number is just people kind of like people that are buying it don't even understand how funding rates work, I found. And so then they go look at it and they're paying like 10,000% APY on shorting it. And you're like, what are you doing? So you have to be very, very, very careful with that. Not that I don't think Johannes can't do it. I just, or that he is suggesting he is. I'm just saying, I thought about tweeting this last night. You must be very careful. I would not even touch that shit personally. Because it's cool. I think it's very innovative, but it's very there's no ground truth. That always makes things difficult.
Good stuff. You want to talk? You were talking about the idea of implementing how you've done for the voting and slashes to do that to upvotes and downvotes and general reviews. I want to talk a little bit about mindset there.
Yeah, so if you're not familiar, one of the things that we have done in the past, like everything is meant to be weighted right on Ethos. And one of the things that we changed with slashing is we've pretty drastically applied the same kind of curve of votes to slashes. So when Jampsy comes in here and votes slash, he's worth 18 of one neutral person, basically, because he's reputable, because he's exemplary. This network graph and weighting is very important, especially because if you look at some of the people, like, no offense to secretweapon.eth, but very, very easy for this person to be a Sybil account or be someone that, it just like invited themselves and counts as one. The whole goal is to make that difficult and just kind of hard to like count as a bunch of Sybils. You want weighting on the network graph. That is the point. And one of the so we've done that with listings too, where if you go into listings, like you get a certain number of votes based on how reputable you are. And so someone can, apply those to Mega ETH however they want to. Maybe they spend all of their votes on bullish for Mega ETH, or I think, myself, I put something like 5 votes or something like 3 votes on it. The interesting thing about right now is when it comes to just upvoting and downvoting, that doesn't apply. And so when you upvote or downvote something, it's everyone counts the same. And I don't know how to think about that yet. I actually think it will be more difficult to think about if you upvote for something and it counts for 43 upvotes. It would be a little bit misleading. And especially if you went and looked at someone and they had minus 43 because one person downvoted them. Like, I think our brain is trained to think of it a little bit like Reddit, which is what I like. But I just need to think about it more. There's an opportunity for let me back up. The problem I'm trying to solve is I'm noticing people are upvoting and downvoting stuff without having they're not looking at the reviews at all. And it's all like neutral people. And you go look at it and you're like, yeah, like, why did you, they'll be like just the most random basic.
Do you think it's because it's popping up in their daily task, or do you think?
Yeah, I do. But like, here's a good one, right? Like, this guy reviewed OSF, Crypto OG, smartest guy in crypto. And you're like, I think people appropriately downvoted this in the case of downvoting it. And like, this guy who is questionable on Ethos, he doesn't have any reviews. He doesn't have any vouchers. He counts the same as someone who has 1 downvote and has, 30 reviews, 36 vouchers, tons of XP. Like, I don't think those things should be 1 for 1. But it's going to be difficult because we're not going to be able to just like throw in like, oh, well, yeah, like freeze is worth 11.
Well, but so let me ask, like, what is this attempting to solve for? Because like, I like your analogy. Like, I think in my mental model, I equate it kind of similarly to a Reddit upvote or a downvote.
Right.
But what is the issue of them being weighted equally? It's just that Sybil attack component.
I think it's not really an issue. I've only just started picking up on it. It's mostly that people are just blindly upvoting and downvoting things.
Gotcha. That there's not like
you're not getting signal out of it. Yeah. So like, I'm glad that this person that wrote QW for QW, it got downvoted, like on average, and this has implications. Basically, this person, if they keep writing reviews like that and they get downvoted on average, they'll lose credibility score themselves. And so like, that has value. But if everyone is weighted the same, then it gets kind of tricky, because then that signal, it gets lost really quickly too.
Gotcha. So that answers my question on the other side of like, it negatively or could potentially positively impact their credibility on the back end based on how it's up or down voted.
Yeah, and also there is a part of Ethos which is like, if a lot of people upvote this one vote, that will have a bigger impact on the target. If a lot of people downvote that one, then it will actually have it can reduce the impact to 0. So like, if you wrote something that was like completely ridiculous and everyone disagreed with you, the impact, it could have a negative impact on your score. It could also have it could nullify the impact of the original review had on the person too. So there is value in it. I think it's a good idea. I just don't know how to like put it. Like, I don't know how it'll look weird if you have 43 upvotes and 1 downvote. Like, your brain isn't going to correctly associate those. So I just need to think about it a little bit more.
Yeah, or maybe I don't know if it's possible, but maybe like giving either certain scores or like validators, like you could unlock, like gives you an option. Do you want to upvote this just with one like power, or do you want to
interesting,
or do you want to use your like actual rank or validator status to get, because like that gives you an option as to like, do I want to use my power to, you know, like downvote
with like
something?
with limited supply, right?
Correct.
Like yeah.
Because like as of right now, like how I contribute is like I'm not on a daily feed, right? That I don't see like everything. So that's why like on the daily task, I like it. And I've told you guys that in the algo, you should throw in some stuff that looks, you know, like low effort or like misinformation, because by that, like we're helping, you know, filter out things that might not be helpful to the protocol, right? So like as a exemplary status, I would like to have kind of like a similar power that if by any chance I see something like that, I could use that towards, you know, like filtering these type of, or same thing at upvoting, right? If I see somebody who wrote like a great review, it'll be nice to kind of like, you know, give that review like some
extra credit, basically.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like it. I mean, it's the one place where like I feel like there's a gap in, because it's just the one place where weighting isn't considered, and I'm willing to experiment with it and say like, well, yeah, let's just literally make it where everyone that upvotes that's reputable, they count for 5. And if you're reputable too, it counts for 9. And let's just see what it looks like. Like, I have no idea. Will it completely change how everything works? Potentially. But it could actually, like, that is the thesis of Ethos in a lot of ways. So I'm going to jump back into chat because we got Makesy showed up and said, what happened with staking after the first slash? Did anyone add after that? Oh, after the poly market slash or the UMA slash? I highly doubt anyone vouched for what happened after it was staking. I think that's what you're talking about, Makesy, at least. This was 4 minutes ago. I don't think anyone, there has been the first slash. There are 2 slashes for UMA now. The first one was whenever they had, this is just a generic one. Just generically, people were upset about Oracle manipulation, and then this one is specific. I don't think anyone had vouched for them. Yeah, they have no vouchers. The interesting thing is this will still have a negative impact among anyone who has positively reviewed them. So, I have seen a lot of people that blindly kind of reviewed. I'm clicking around too fast. Sorry. I saw a lot of people that blindly reviewed positively UMA. Like a lot of people with higher score, so if you sort it by score, the vast majority of people with significant score negatively or neutrally reviewed UMA. But then you get like someone like this and you're like, okay, yeah, like this wasn't an actual opinion that you had about the person, right? About UMA. Or like, I don't think this is not a like, I believe in UMA post, in my opinion. Whenever they're negative, it's almost always that they actually put like authentic sentiment into it, right? You're writing a negative thing. It makes you like, you want to write something about it. So it will as of the latest EIP, all of these people will actually lose another 15 credibility score for positively reviewing when they get slashed, which is, it has been a very interesting dynamic to see play out as it has played out. And I actually think it's doing its job pretty well. There's a general question just about collusion, and my usual take on collusion is like, so long as there are a significant number of people, collusion is difficult. The general rule of thumb is like, if you can get to like 100 people voting on something, it's like really difficult to have people collude on things. So I do think that Ethos, so long as you get a, one of the requirements for slashes is that you get a specific number of people as a total population of Ethos. Like you basically need like at least 1% of active participants to interact to prevent some of the collusion. Collusion is really, really difficult. I think it's way harder than people think, unless you have something like UMA, where it's a lot easier to collude because the majority of the majority of tokens are held by just a few wallets.
Yeah, that's why the invite system has worked so well, right?
Mhm.
To as you scale, it acts as like the first line of defense against.
Yeah, and you can't just invite yourself 100 times and suddenly look like 100 people, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like Johannes also likes the super vote, like on Tinder. I can't relate. I've been with my wife since before Tinder was around, so
that was a good answer.
Yeah, I gotta disclaim that one. Makesy says, love this format, just walking through what's happening on the network. Yeah, I know. I think you have to do streaming. We usually do this, but I think you have to have streaming so that people can like see something. When you do just a space, you can't see anything, and demo's worth 1,000 meetings, so it's much better this way. Ethos front end is art, the best in crypto. Not sure anything else. Dang, Makesy's glazed at us today. I like it. Intuitive self-experience. Does anything else come close? Yeah, I think you might be glazing our designer a little bit too much too, Makesy, but yeah, it's well deserved. We have done. I feel like the product is in a very good user experience and user interface state. So I appreciate you saying that.
Yeah. I've always told you guys, like, I know you're using dark mode, but you guys have the best light mode.
You know, I never use it. I'm gonna blind everyone, but I
No,
always
you won't.
loved it.
And that's why you're not blinding everybody, because it's not really like
it's dim.
Like great. Yeah, it's grayish mode, right? Which is amazing.
The original intent, I haven't used it enough lately. It was my favorite for sure to start. It's meant to look more like paper than like a white screen.
Yeah.
But like
like if you go on X and there's still people that use light mode on X, I'm like, what are you doing? What are you guys doing?
Yeah. No, I always really like that color for light. I should use it more on light mode. But my brain always goes to dark mode. Okay, let's see what else. Yeah, I see that. There you go. Mirror designer is very happy. The slash impact is more on the score than yeah, it is. Yeah, we don't have financial slashing yet. Financial slashing will make things very, very interesting. I just want to be clear, though, that I think I looked the other day, and out of all of this, like financial slashing to happen requires the person you are slashing to have money in Ethos. And that is very rarely the case. We have, I think, Alucard was the only person that I can remember recently, and I don't think he even had money in Ethos. He was one of the few Ethos profiles that has been slashed. And yeah, let me just pull up his profile here. Yeah, he's not vouched anything in anyone else.
You're saying that people had vouched for them, or that they had vouched?
So the way that financial slashing can work, there's a couple of different ways that we've thought about it, is that whenever someone gets slashed, like let's say Alucard got slashed again, we could either, if he got successfully slashed, we could either remove money from people that vouched for him, or we could remove money for him vouching for other people. And we had originally thought of it as the latter, because then it feels a little less risk on to vouch for someone who might actually get slashed unfairly. But I don't know yet what we'll do. I want to start and ease our way into that, because when you talk about losing money, it becomes a lot different, right? And you don't want to like. Go ahead.
If you got fudded before for slashing people's scores, right? Way into like slashing actually starts taking people's money. So it's definitely, yeah, you want definitely the system to be working properly before you even get there.
Yeah, well, there's an interesting kind of ebb and flow of like the markets, like the reputation markets, versus something like, you know, vouched and slashing.
Agree. It is a more extreme version of that, and like I actually still believe is the true answer to reputation. We just got to get there, because it represents with the reputation market, you actually get opportunity. You can make money, you can lose money. And it's way more on the nose. Like it's way more obvious and apparent. In slashing, it's really just kind of like you might lose some of your own credibility score. Eventually, you might lose a little bit of your money, but you're never 100% risk on. And in theory, like when it comes to the reputation market, it's 100% risk on. We haven't really seen a lot of people that have taken a ton amount of risk and lost a bunch of money on it yet, but it is possible. And like, so Johannes brings up a really good point of like, I wonder if a polymarket slash would pass in the current situation. For example, I positively reviewed them. I feel like there's good reason to, and then I'm wondering if there's risk for me because mob might review slash polymarket for people that lost money. It's tough, man. Like, this is one of the things that Ethos, we have to figure out how to handle well. Like, I like polymarket. I don't know that I've reviewed positively polymarket. I think polymarket is a net positive for the space. They have also done some stuff lately that I feel like is questionable. Whether, I've been putting pressure on the way that they're marketing things, I think is kind of shitty. And I also think that when you look at something like UMA and their dependence on UMA, it's losing in the court of public opinion right now. And do I feel like I should have to pay negatively for having a positive opinion on polymarket? Maybe not. But if I'm supporting them looking credible in the market and they're not, then you can see why we have that functionality too. So I haven't quite figured it out yet when it comes to projects like this. And I mean, polymarket has, just look at the top, right? The sentiment is very good among most people. I don't know how polymarket slash would work right now either. I actually suspect you'd have a lot of people defending polymarket. But UMA just, I mean, I feel like Ethos participants are actually considering the nuance of the fact that it's UMA and not polymarket, which is interesting.
And I think it was, I may have seen you comment on something like this on the timeline of like, with something like polymarket, where you have like this ability for these creator markets to be spun up, is like the liquidity is near zero.
Right.
And so it's ripe for manipulation.
Yeah, right.
And then like what that oracle of truth then becomes, whether it's social consensus or, some on-chain oracle of truth. I don't think there's like a perfect answer, right? So like finding where to draw that line in the shade of gray becomes like the issue.
Yep. Right. Yeah. Yeah, totally. And I'm really interested to see how some of these things play out. And like, I think this is our public commitment of like, we'll have to adapt those things because they're not going to go how we think they're going to go. Like, we want them to, I think a good example would be something like Humanity Protocol. It's probably one of the more fascinating, why does Sean show up when I type in humanity? Our search isn't great. Okay. Give me a break.
I've told you from the beginning.
Humanity Protocol Twitter. This is the easier way to do it. That's just Humanity Prod. Okay, cool. It's because they have such a low score, actually, that they don't get prioritized in the list. Yeah, like Humanity Protocol went from like, now they're going back up, but they went from like super high to like, bottom of the barrel, like 360 basically. And they just got all of these negative reviews and all of these people were super pissed about it. And like, it came from everywhere. It wasn't just people that were neutral. It was people that were reputable and exemplary. They were mad about the way that the airdrop worked. And it's interesting because a lot of people were like, wait a second. Is this just angry airdrop farmers? And like, I didn't have a very nuanced opinion because I never interacted with Humanity Protocol. I didn't know much about it. I had felt like Ethos properly represented how people felt about Humanity Protocol in the moment. But what did that actually mean? I mean, the price action was like the complete opposite, right? If you look at the token price of Humanity, the H token, okay, it's down a little bit. Whoa, that's weird. That's a weird graph. There you go. Yeah, I posted the Pico top. But like, this represented where sentiment was. It was at 2 cents or something. And it went all the way back to almost 10 cents. It almost 5x basically. It did 5x. And it was really interesting to see this like difference of like sentiment, farmer sentiment, and price. And I don't know that slippage between sentiment and price means anything, that Ethos is doing anything wrong. I think that's actually a very normal thing to happen. I think the big thing for me is we now can see that sentiment. We've seen how it changed. It is to me, objectively true that these people that have left negatively reviews are going to be much more difficult to eventually buy the H token one day. These people are less likely to be interested in being long-term users of humanity. And that doesn't mean that like humanity's done for. It just means we now have a way to measure that and observe that and get value from it and drive insights from it. And I think the thing that keeps going back to is like, is this correct? Like, this is absolutely what mob mentality looks like. Did we get it right? Did we over optimize? Is, you know,
well,
is it wrong?
I think it's maybe just an interesting observation, but like over a long enough time frame, if the sentiment then shifts again, like again, acknowledging for the missteps, whether new users that may have not had, you know, that negative impact or, you know, review experience to then positively review and kind of find some equilibrium.
Those people. Yeah.
Or of those that have negatively reviewed that are willing to engage and change their score or their review.
Right. Yeah. When I look at something like listings, and we've talked about this in some of the like Discord chats that we have in our regular syncs, is like, you know, if I'm like the Monad team and I'm on here and I'm like, whoa, wait, people are 21% bullish. Like, what's going on here? You actually have the opportunity as the team to come in here and say like, wait, okay, why, how do I convert this person? Like, how do I turn this person from a hater into someone who loves this product? How do I go, you know, if I'm on here and I'm like, yo, like, bearish, like these are big names. ICO Beast is bearish with 15 votes on Monad. Like if I'm Keon or the guy that runs Monad or whatever, I'm like I'm in ICO Beast DMs right now. Like turn this guy into someone who loves the product, not hates it, right? Especially hates it publicly, or any of these people, and or like, you know, James who works for Yugo, like. There are people in here that you have the opportunity to turn these people into like lovers of your product, not haters of your product. Like being able to open the door to that narrative, I think is very interesting and hopefully helpful for teams.
Well, and that's something interesting of like, I don't know that anywhere else aside from maybe Twitter, but much harder to quantify and aggregate that data of where you could get information like that.
Right.
Of where you could find targeted, hyper-specific individuals that you could personally target and reach out to shift that sentiment.
Right. Yeah. It's really tough because there do exist these things, right? You go to Humanity Protocol and you have this like community sentiment thing up here, right? But it's not backed by anything. Oh, hold on. Let me see if it will be. Oh, I just voted bullish. It has no idea who I am. I'm just a person clicking buttons. I did it accidentally. But like it, you know, then you realize it's more about relativity and how it changes over time and stuff like that. And like you could see, oh yeah, wow, funny, community sentiment goes along with price. Like there's not enough depth there when it comes to understanding how some of those things work and why people say those things and why they feel that way. And I feel like this gives a way more depth to that equation. And otherwise, it's just breadth, right? It's just very shallow sentiment. People say whatever the hell they want on Twitter. They'll FUD something for free. They'll say whatever they want. The reality of listings, which most people don't fully understand, is like there's permanence to this. You're putting your name behind it. You're not running from these sentiments. Like, and you know, I feel like it's a big deal. I've never seen ICOB say anything publicly negative about any product. Like that's not his persona. It's not his MO. And why? Because he understands that doesn't get him much. Well, you know, when he says it about Monad, I think it means something. And again, if I'm the Monad team or if I'm any of these teams here and I'm like, wow, someone gave me the time of day to even look at my product and vote on it. Like, well, now I have the opportunity to go convert them. And it's the same thing. It's just like basic business principles. You run a business, you're a plumber, you get a bunch of bad feedback. You can either be like, fuck those guys. I'm so sick of plumbing. I'm never going to do this again. Or you can say, hey, I'm going to call this person up, apologize, figure out what's wrong. Why don't they like my service? What did I do wrong? Like, just learn from that opportunity. Like, customer feedback as a sentiment loop is the most important way to build products. So I'm not saying that's like Ethos's goal or our vision or what we're trying to do, but like we enable that through what we're building. And I think that's really powerful.
It's another higher signal data point.
Right. And my goal is, I think a lot of people have been getting pretty caught up in like, oh, well, this number versus that number, or these numbers individually, like why is Believe only 6% and why is Monad 21%? And I still think of them more as being relative to each other. Like, it's not saying that like Yeet is going to fail or Somnia is going to fail or Fantasy Top is going to fail. I mean, I certainly don't think that I voted bullish for Fantasy Top. But it does give you some general idea as how the projects relate to each other, and then being able to observe those changes in time.
Well, so something I was curious on the listings. When I first interacted with it, I saw I had like, one upvote, one downvote. And I was curious, like, what part of and this may just be like, I don't know if it's just me or if this is like the kind of human nature component to it of like, I voted one bullish, but I didn't, of the available listings, I didn't have one that I was particularly bearish, even though the market was doing market things and showing a couple had, bearish sentiment. And so I wonder how many people were voting negatively bearish with consensus, kind of like going mob mentality on it, even when they don't have a negative bearish opinion on it.
This is something that people bring up often is like, one, if you give people bearish votes, does it force them to vote? Two, if you encourage them, which we don't, or sort of tend to encourage them through the UI, will they do it anyways and then just pile on to other things? And to be honest, I think that having the bearish votes and not forcing people, but giving them the ability to voice something explicitly as bearish, where it does not count against your ability to be bullish, is a very important thing that does not exist in Web3 sentiment analysis today. That one, people don't publicly say they're bearish on things usually. Two, you almost exclusively support things publicly because that's just how our bag bias and our brains work. And so what I try to do, and like, I apologize for Believe and anyone on the Believe team, but I tried to say, here is a product that I think people are mostly bearish on. Here's Believe, right? And I don't think people just piled on to Believe with bearish votes because they're going to get something out of it. I actually think this represents what sentiment looks like in the space for Believe right now. And I think it would be interesting, and I think it is interesting to understand, well, who is bullish on Believe right now? And there are some names in here. You've got people like Kip from Fantasy Top, who has publicly bullish on Believe. You've got Evans here, publicly bullish on Believe. And like Evans has, publicly posted about it too. I think that having the negative side is a very important part of it. I could be convinced otherwise. I want to experiment with it. But I think it's really important because otherwise we are in this positivity echo chamber like 95% of the time on Twitter. And in theory, if you give people the same amount of votes on either side and people decide how to spend those votes based on however they're feeling, then you should still get relative good judgment as projects relate to each other, even if there are things that might happen, like people pile on negatively or positive. Like you could easily pile on positively to Ethos and spend all of your positive votes that way for no reason. So I don't have any data to suggest that we're not getting like helpful sentiment analysis out of this yet, but it is a very different thing and different way of surveying people than most people are used to.
Well, and I think the big part, like to underscore there, is the relativity that it's, like I think this Believe as an example is pretty clearly not an example of that.
Right.
There's observationally a pretty heavy consensus that people are bearish on the product, but the nuance there of, you know, being able to dive in and see the reasons or the profiles for who is leaning one way or the other. And like you said, even if it's, you know, the negative consensus, being able to like isolate and identify why people are bearish when you may not find that information on the timeline.
Right.
Yeah. One of the things we discussed in the Discord AMA is that adding a few more clicks to when somebody votes bearish, right? Because as a team, when you come in here and you see the bearish sentiment, you want to get as much feedback to convert those people that are bearish, right? But a lot of them don't decide to write a comment, right? Because it's easier to click a button. So we've given kind of like the team kind of the feedback, maybe adding like, okay, why are you bearish? Is it a team? Is it you know, the project? Is it a token? Like just little.
I think we'll do that next month. Yeah, it just like whenever you vote bearish, it gives you one option that's like, of the three things, why? It's kind of like whenever you cancel your subscription in Netflix and they're like, okay, but why did you cancel it? Is it because it was too expensive? Is it because you didn't like this? And you don't have to fill it out, but being able to get
the unsubscribe to email button.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So anyways, I think that'll be interesting to see it play out. I do think that listings is very fascinating to see how it's been coming together. And some of the like narratives that have come out of it in terms of like, whoa, I didn't realize people didn't know about this project or don't like this project, or I didn't know this person was bullish on that or not bullish on the other thing. So I'm feeling pretty good about how it's playing out so far.
Yeah. By the way, my billing rate just went up now that you confirmed that you're using my feedback. Thanks.
Okay, well, everyone's feedback is important, Emlo. We take everyone's feedback seriously, and one feedback is worth one feedback. So, no, I appreciate everyone showing up today. I'll end it here at hour and 15 minutes. I think this is cool. I think the stream worked well. It was a good way to like demo the product, talk about things going on in the product and the space. Honestly, Ethos works as almost like a news reporting app anyways. There's plenty of good stuff to talk about it. So, and then thanks VGF and MLO. Oh, you guys both have 3-letter names. That's kind of cool. Thanks for showing up and chatting with us. I super appreciate it.
Thanks for having us. Have a nice day.
See you guys around. Thanks everyone for joining.